2006 Pontiac Torrent with multiple trouble codes. I'm going to do a desktop recording here due to some serious glare on the screen, and get you guys a shot of the trouble codes first. And what we have is multiple codes, a lean code, 3 EGR codes, and then an evap code. The other thing I noticed about this vehicle was a start stall problem. And so really when we have a vehicle like this where you have a start stall and then you have multiple trouble codes, is can we put all of them together? Do we have multiple problems? As far as direction, customer complaint is important. So is a test drive. Try to duplicate faults and symptoms. In this case, the customer is only concerned about the check engine light. They need to get an emission sticker. So they weren't even complaining about any running problems at all. So I'm going to keep this one brief. I've already looked at it, and this one's going to be more of a tips video than it is walking you through the exact procedures of everything. Let's start with this EGR, the feedback signal, the sensor A signal low, the position error code. I'm just going to take you guys over to our data display, and we're going to pull up our EGR data. And there were some things I was thinking about previously. You know, I walked through this whole thing before filming this one with you guys, and that was, is the EGR valve slightly stuck open? You know, this being a mass airflow design, we can have EGR valves that are stuck open that do not cause rich conditions. Believe it or not, it can cause a lean condition. I actually have a video on a stuck open EGR valve that I've done recently. But it's only available on my premium channel. So for those of you guys that are not subscribed to my premium channel, go over there and check it out. Sign up for it. It's free for 14 days. Even if you're only there for 14 days and then you cancel your account, I don't care, but that's where that video is available. So what I'm doing is just picking my EGR stuff, a little custom data display. And I'll show you one of the tests that I did. I just grabbed the EGR valve and pull on the connector. Really not the connector. I'm stressing the male pins. And if you watch this signal voltage right here, that's the one we want to watch while I'm doing this procedure. I'm just pulling on it. That should not happen. And it was worse. When I first looked at this vehicle, it was 0.16 of a volt, and you see all the changes in that. We would want to make sure, you know, this has already been rewired. As I'm looking at this, I didn't notice this before. All of these wires are white. So could we have an issue with the rewiring? Is it wiring or is it the EGR? It's pretty simple to do. You just move the wiring without stressing the pins, and then from there, try to not touch the harness and push on the valve. And that is definitely, definitely the valve? You know, that wasn't the main thing I wanted to show you with this car. I'm just kind of running into something here I was unprepared to see. Is it the wiring? This has been rewired once already. Or is it the valve itself? Because since I moved this wiring, I'm no longer getting the changes that I had. So maybe it was the connector. I am not getting those same changes. This was supposed to be a quick one, and now it's not going to be, because I need to check this wiring. Somebody was here, somebody rewired this. Can no longer make this thing act up. Okay, let's go back to our bi-directional control. See if I can work this again. Functional tests is where I'm going, output controls. And what I'm going to do is turn this EGR on. What I had last time I did this, I had about a 30% difference in actual to desired EGR position. Again, confirming a position sensor error. Really what my concern is right now, guys, is do I have a wiring problem or is it the valve? And originally I thought it was the valve, and then as I'm filming this with you guys, I'm just questioning that a little bit. Just worried about the wiring a little bit. Pulling up my EGR data. What we want to really focus on for this would be this EGR position voltage here. The percentage too is important, but that's converted from the voltage. Well, I guess really during this test, this desired EGR position and the EGR position sensor, those two should match each other. And then the variance, this 0% down here. So really it's all of it, but watch it. I'm gonna start the test. It's gonna time me out pretty quick, so I have to be quick in my commands here, because I'll have about 10 more seconds, maybe 20 at most, before it kicks me out of this test. And it looks like right now this thing is working exactly like it should be. Yeah, I didn't have these results before. The last time I did this, there's my generic timer. Let's go back to my data display. Is it the valve or is it the wiring? And my position voltage at 0.67. Ignore those spikes right there. That's just a very small min-max scale. Just stressing the top of the valve again. No real changes there. See, and I can't even make it do it again. Why? That's annoying. That looks like a pretty good repair. Somebody used the heat shrink style butt connectors on here, so I like to see that. Yeah, those all look good. So as far as what I was seeing, then I showed you guys part of it I'm definitely going to tell them to put a valve in it. I had major fluctuations just by stressing the pins. And I think what I did is I just stressed it enough that it really started making good contact with it. There's some change, there we go. There's some changes. I mean, not like what we had. All right, EGR valve. That's one of our multiple codes. Actually, that's 3 of the 5 codes that we had. EGR valve. All right, let me take you over now to our fuel trim, and just let you guys see kind of what I'm doing, I guess. Let me go back, take a look at our fuel trim data. Sorry. Now we can use that. There's long term and short term. See, I have 6% on the long term. When I did this previously, I had 2%, so that came up a little bit. Nothing crazy with that right now. It's important to know when this lean condition set. And so let me take you back to our freeze frame data for that. So we'll go under our codes menu, go freeze frame, and then we'll pick our 171 freeze frame code. And this 171 code, I'm really looking at RPM, throttle angle, and engine load. So I'm at 20% engine load. This is really at idle. Long term's at 14%. My throttle angle's at 13%. And by the way, that is idle on this. I checked it before with it idling, and we were about 14 to 15% on the TPS, which is high, by the way, and we'll come back to that. That has to do with our stalling issue, start stall. Where's my RPM at? RPM, I know it's on here, right here, 700 RPM. So I'm idling. This car is idling when it's at this fault. It's at 186 degrees. See vehicle speeds at 0, 14%, short terms at -1. Nothing crazy, but here's the point. We're at idle when this lean condition occurred. That's important to me for direction as far as what kind of lean condition I have. And here's another capture. This one was at 199 degrees. And what we have is short term and long term at, short term at 13%, long term at 10. And it looks like one that wasn't compensated for. Again, RPM is 700. Throttle angle is lower. Guys, this one, I set this one. Notice the throttle angle here is at 2%. That was after cleaning this throttle plate. I was gonna tell you about that, but I have to now because this set for me when I was sitting here trying to duplicate this lean condition. All right, so the reason that throttle angle changed, guys, throttle plates were dirty. This had 15% when we first looked at it, no loads, all accessories off, hot engine, in park, 15%. And when we were done, we're down around 2-3%. So keep that in mind when it comes to a start stall on these. Clean the throttle plates. So that's what I did. That took care of the start stall, but the start stall, just so we're clear, the start stall has nothing to do with these trouble codes that are in memory. And I was trying to put them together and, you know, we could not do that. We have multiple problems on this vehicle. TPS now at 3%. When we started working on this, we were at 15%. That is success as far as taking care of the start stall. So the last thing is going to be the fuel trim, and what I was trying to do is put the EGR with the fuel trim and I was not able to do that, and really I was starting to get a little, not discouraged, but you know, almost say, hey, I can't duplicate this lean condition right now. And this is the last part I want to show you guys. Let's go inside the vehicle and take the scan tool with us, and I'll show you what I found. So I was concerned about the brake booster, and let you see my foot on the brake pedal while I am showing you the scan data here. Step on the brake pedal and watch the short term. I'm just holding it. Short term spiked a little bit on that one. Let me try that again. Seems to be changing a little bit. That's off the brake pedal. Now, one of the things I have to admit to you is I haven't done this often, step on the brake pedal and look at the trims, but I mean, I'm pretty sure a 7% spike in the short-term trim is not a good thing. And if I pump it a few times, watch these trim numbers. I mean, is that something that we would normally see? You know, we are, I guess, using the vacuum as, I don't know if we're using it, then dumping it to the atmosphere each time we hit the pedal. I don't think so. It would help if I knew the internals of the brake booster. But here's the point. Look at the fuel trim now. Look how high it is. And then when I let my foot off the pedal, see now my foot's not on the pedal. See how they're balancing back out? Short term is negative, while long term is positive. So we need a brake booster. Now, is it the brake booster O-ring around the master cylinder? I learned about that on a case study I did. I think it was a 2006 Cobalt, maybe. I think it was a Cobalt that had a master cylinder that was just replaced and had a lean condition. You guys can look it up. And that one ended up being an O-ring. I think if the O-ring was leaking on the master cylinder, this would be lean all the time. This only goes lean when I step on the pedal, as you saw there. But that's enough to set my lean code that we had. At one point in time, sitting in here, I had almost exactly what my freeze frame data showed, which was 14% on the long term and 0 on the short term. So brake booster. So how do we handle problems like this, where you have multiple codes, multiple symptoms? Really, the customer's complaint is just the check engine light. You know, is it a one charge for everything? I don't think so. I mean, we still have an evap leak code that I haven't addressed yet. In fact, I'm not going to for this round. We took care of the stalling problem by cleaning the throttle plates. The EGR code, I showed you guys that. We were a little bit iffy on the connector there for a minute, but that EGR valve is faulty. Setting those fault codes, that one was pretty easy, but it's not always that easy. And then our lean condition is a brake booster. So 3 separate problems right there. And we haven't even touched the evap system issue. I think we're gonna handle that one later. We're gonna take care of these 3 items: clean the throttle plates, replace the EGR valve, replace the brake booster, clear the fault codes, give this vehicle back to the customer, and you know, cross our fingers that we don't have an evap leak that comes back. Now, what should be done is this car be put inside, put up on a rack, put the smoke machine on it, and you know, do the test. I don't have the smoke machine with me today, so that's not going to happen. And you know, between you and me, I don't feel bad about that, because like I said, this is not a one fee for all problems on cars. Some of you guys have asked me that recently. How do you charge people? Well, it's different in each situation. There's not one set thing. I think in this case, this car warrants 2 different diagnostic charges. The evap system is completely separate from what I just did. I think handling the stalling, handling the EGR, and handling the lean condition in one shot, you know, that's a pretty good deal if you ask me. Now, if this EGR system ended up being one that, you know, I had to do wiring repairs, or let's say, for example, I had to track the EGR back to the engine computer and found like a reference circuit problem at the engine computer. And I've done a video on that. In fact, I'll throw that link in here. There was I think it was a P1406 fault code on an EGR that it ended up being a bad computer. Is that one you're going to, you know, have the same fee that we're charging here, which is 1 hour diagnostic time? No, that's going to be different too. So each one's different. You know, I apologize. I said this video is going to be short and I tend to talk too much, but I just want to make sure you guys are understanding what I'm doing and you understand the direction that I took with this vehicle. Again, last comment was needs an EGR. We cleaned the throttle plates to handle the stalling problem, and our lean condition was caused by a faulty brake booster. So hope you guys like that. Have a good day.